All right. Well, welcome everyone to the March Midday Cafe. And can we just say we are so grateful for virtual gatherings because we can still continue as planned, and we are here and we set aside this time to be together, and we're just thankful to see your faces. And so we have a few things. We sent out a newsletter last week. We hope that you're subscribed to that. If you're not and you'd like to be subscribed, send us your email address at iea@gmail.com, and we'll get you on that list. We love that we have a couple of virtual opportunities for you that we've highlighted in our newsletter. So coming up March 27th and 28th, Clare Loughrige, our IEA GLR president, is hosting an Enneagram and Prayer virtual retreat. And so I'll put the link for that and all the details in the chat here in just a moment. And we also have an ongoing collaborative circle called Real Life Enneagram Circles that's hosted by Teresa McCloy and myself. And it is for anyone that's wanting to use the tool of the Enneagram in the work that you do. And so it's just a place to come together, grab some resources, and really be a part of a great membership community. So those two things are completely virtual. We've got some other accredited trainings I'll drop in the chat as well for Dr. Wagner that are coming up. And then also a training on the Enneagram Motions of the Soul that Claire's hosting in Marshall, Michigan. And we are hopeful that those trainings will happen. Please check. If you register ahead, please check and just make sure that those things are still on. We are day by day, but we are holding out hope that those things will be happening. And then probably one of the things we're most excited about is the IEA Regional Conference. And so July 24th and 25th in Chicago, it's Enneagram as a Verb. And it is just going to be an outstanding lineup of Enneagram teachers and professionals there. And so pre-registration is happening. Early bird prices are available. And we hope you'll join us for that July 24th and 25th in Chicago. We'll be posting updates as we have them as well, since that is an on-site gathering. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Claire and let her introduce our guest today for Midday Cafe.
Thank you, Erica. Appreciate being able to see your face, that we actually get a virtual moment here. And, you know, many of us have been concerned about our friends, and I don't know, Bill, if you'll even let us see your face today, because you guys didn't have a Green River yesterday in Chicago. I'm wondering how all of those Chicagoland people are dealing with no Green River. And
Very sad.
Oh, yeah. You know, I found actually a St. Patrick's virtual party yesterday, and then they have a bunch of links for you to be listening to all the great Irish music at your leisure. So celebrate St. Patty's Day all week long. Welcome to everyone, and I'm glad to see faces. And those of you who we don't see your face, we just are trusting that you're well. Did a Zoom call last night with friends. Several of them were sick. Some had just gotten out of surgery and they haven't seen people already in a couple of weeks. And we just listened to each other for about 90 minutes. And by the time we were done, people felt relief. And so I think I'd like to start today just with breathing and giving ourselves a moment to just be centered and grounded. However you do that, I typically put my feet flat on the floor so I remember that I'm here and that I'm not in the place I just came from. I'm not where I'm going after this, but I allow myself to be all here now, feeling my feet on the floor. Allow my breathing to remind me that I'm alive. And gravity is still working in for our benefit. And allowing this to be a moment of relief with all of the ideas that are swirling the anxiety that we're carrying in our bodies. And this need for connection that's actually happening even right now at this very moment. Just let our breathing give us a way to regulate our emotions a bit. Allowing our thoughts to descend down maybe into our heart, and then breathing into that heart space and realizing we're not alone, but we're with some people here now. And however you'd like to spend these last few minutes of just breathing, whether you put your hand on your heart or on your belly, or you allow yourself to have a little shoulder movement, give yourself a way to notice that you're here and you're not alone. And so, with that, we can let our eyes come open as we feel able and able to take in the faces of these people from California uh, and uh, and Chicago and Michigan and Indiana and other places. Canada, Leanne's here from Canada, and just so grateful that you were able to be with us today and get to spend time. Maybe some of you for the first time with Jan. Just raise your hand if you're seeing Jan live for the first time. Just give a yeah, awesome. Jan is the co-president of the International Enneagram Association, along with Carla Smith, and they're just doing an amazing job in a time of transition. And I know you'll give us a bit of an update, but I'm really happy that it's Jan today that's with us. I love all of our presenters for different reasons. And Jan she has a master's in clinical psychology and a master's in spiritual formation. And she's certified in Myers-Briggs and Strength Finders and WEPS. And she's a coach. She is a guide that I trust. And I said to her yesterday that I know she's bringing us a non-anxious presence today. And oh, how we need to be in the presence of people who can breathe. And even if they have a moment of challenge, they remember themselves and can come home and start to breathe again. And so, I think one of the things, Jan, that I'm grateful for is not only do you work in business, but you work with children, you've worked with substance abuse, you've worked with just a wide variety of groups and individuals, and I imagine that all of this is going to integrate with even some of the learning you're doing with the diamond approach these days. But I think about the fact that you just came back from Jordan, and then of course you were at the IEA conference in Egypt, and you were sick for quite a long time and really kind of quarantined it for a whole, on a whole nother level for yourself. Yeah. And so how is it with your soul right now? What's happening head, heart, and gut for you in these days?
I love Claire. She always goes straight for the jugular, doesn't she? My soul these days. I guess I would say I'm in a season, and it seems to mirror what's going on in our world a bit, where I feel like the old is falling away and in some ways not even accessible anymore. You're in this new place and trying to understand what the rules are of this new body, mind, spirit. and I guess that's 4 energy as well, kind of the reinvention and self-renewing. So I find myself kind of in one of those places again where all the places I've been, while I've blessed them and they've had value, aren't who I am today, and I'm not sure who that is yet. So that's much less terrifying than it was in my younger years, I guess. Now I'm looking forward to see what new value emerges, I'd say.
Mm. Yeah, that great Richard Rohr quote, it is what it is, and that is our teacher. And, I think less terrifying to embrace the teacher if you've had some experiences prior to this, to say, yeah, something will come from this that will lead and guide and maybe make us a more human and kind world for humankind. And yeah, so thank you so much for being with us. And I know I asked you to talk about the diamond approach today, but really I think we're up for anything that you
Yeah,
live through to guide us in these moments together.
sure. Well, I think the quote from Richard Rohr is actually a great intro to the diamond approach, which really is a practice of spiritual, emotional, mental, physical awareness that uses what they call inquiry, which is basically dealing with reality, with what is, exploring where I am, who I am, what am I experiencing right now. And so I'm open to where we go today, but I thought it'd be nice for more than everyone kind of listening to me talk or listening to us dialogue, you and I, Claire, to have some opportunities for people to speak with each other. I mean, we're in this time of increased isolation, and especially I think inquiry is something that's best understood by trying it out. So for those that are interested, we'll later a little bit split people into rooms and let you all play with it a bit. Yeah, so I think that's where we'll go today. I thought to maybe show some videos, but the technology was dragging a bit, and so maybe that's just a message that you all don't want to sit through a 7-minute video, so we'll skip that. But there'll be links to that in the chat. They'll be shared with you later. So I think the first thing I'd want to say is, while I'm a new addition, I guess, to the diamond approach, I've been to several retreats. I am not by any means one of the most well versed. I'm not even officially a part of the school at this point yet. I have to submit my application still the next month or so. So I guess I want to present to you that I'm speaking about it just more from a participant point of view, and just kind of sharing my experiences and what I found really valuable. So I'm curious, from those that are on the call, who's heard of the diamond approach before, has any familiarity with it? Okay, Leanne looks like, and Bill, yeah, okay. So I think the first thing to share is that it's a spiritual experience that's done mostly in groups, in person, but there is an online version, the Diamond Approach Online, which I think they'll share some links with you for that as well. It's just at diamondapproach.org. And the retreats are comprised of a lot of different ways of showing up to the inner life, like meditation. They have something I really appreciate called life practice, which is where you go about kind of the tasks of your day, and everybody's assigned a job, like sweeping the sidewalk or cleaning off a chair, and you have to do it as slowly and as mindfully as possible in a meditative state. And let me tell you, that's terrible. That was really, really hard. But it brings real life in a way that I find really valuable. It's easy to get into kind of retreat mode, so to speak, and go in and out of that state of being attentive, but not letting that translate as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, just that idea of sweeping in a meditative state. I see Doug Walters is on the call with me, and we practice walking with Felina Hewerts. And the kind of walking that she does, it's like the weirdest, most difficult, most, it's so slow. And you say to yourself, I wonder how often I even pay attention to the walking that I'm doing, which
Mm.
is one of the basic practices of life, right? And do I even pay attention to my steps or my sweeping? So I'd love to know more about that life practice. That's sounds like one of those practices that makes you crazy, but you need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has a reputation amongst diamond approachers as being their least favorite, but I think it's because it's the most real. It's where kind of the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, a lot of the exercises are focused around this idea of inquiry, which is delving deeper into what is. And each retreat would have a particular focus area, such as a recent one was around forgiveness, in which we did a very interesting inquiry that I was sharing with Claire about a little bit, where we had to talk about our relationship to revenge and who we want to take revenge on, and then actually do an inquiry or a monologue essentially and talk for 10 minutes about exactly how you'd take revenge on someone. That was very uncomfortable. But they're not usually all that intense, and don't worry, I'm not going to give us something like that to work with today.
Well, are there
But
Enneagram types that like that better than others, I
I
wonder?
was just thinking, I was like, that is probably the most poor example to use ever right now, and hopefully I'm not scaring everyone away.
Oh,
But are others like, the beauty of peace or centeredness, or what is it like when you encounter true humility in yourself or another person. And inquiry by its very nature kind of gets you below your kind of canned answer to that, or your mental idea of what those things mean, and really into the heart, soul, body, mind, spirit of that experience. So I thought, maybe I'll give another sentence or two description of what inquiry is, and then Claire and I can try it out as maybe a little demo, and then have everybody else do the same. If that sounds like a good way to move forward. What do you think?
sounds great. Yeah. And is there an option for people to, once they realize what we're about to do, they can go in the shallow end, or they can go in the deep end? There's no pressure for you to share your deepest, darkest things, but really just a way to practice. And maybe you're comfortable going for the juggler, or you prefer to, stay up here and float a little bit. So just be yourself. There's no coercion here.
Absolutely. And often, as inquiry goes along, people may not even respond for a minute or two at a time, and just be checking in with what's happening in their bodies and their minds, and not wanting to report. So there's that, as well.
Mm.
So the first thing that I thought we'd try would be a repeating question, which, if you've done work with Russ Hudson or the Enneagram Institute, they work with these a lot, and a lot of other Enneagram teachers do as well. And the idea is that there's two jobs and this would be in groups of two. So there's one person asking the question. Their job is to ask the question, wait for the response, then say thank you, and ask the question again. And the part that's kind of tricky, as the questioner, is to not respond, not to affirm, not to meaningfully nod, or your job is to basically hold the space, but also some distance, and allow the experience to be about the other person, which honestly, as a trained coach and psychotherapist, I find really freeing, to be able to just let it all be in the other person's camp, and for myself as well on the other side. So that's job number one. And then for the person being asked the question, their job is just to respond with as much or as little as they feel inclined to in that moment. And that can be, words. It can be, checking in with some kind of physical sensation you're having, images, whatever works for you, or sometimes silence. So what else should I say about this? I think what we'll do today for the exercises will be 5 minutes apiece. So you'll be questioning the other person for 5 minutes or responding for 5 minutes at a time, then mood switch. So for a total of 10 minutes. And I'll just demo this with Claire for a few minutes. Are you ready, Claire? Do you have any questions?
No, I will be the guinea pig.
Okay. All right. So, and one other thing to say before I start with the actual questioning, one thing I've really appreciated about the diamond approach is a lot of their inquiry starts with questions such as what's right with ... Like basically making the assumption that whatever internal experience or state that you're having, there's something right about that. And I think we all spend a lot of time, well, I'll use the word I spend a lot of time trying to change an internal state or fighting whatever it is I'm thinking, feeling, experiencing in my body. So, Claire, what's right about where you are today?
I'm in the right space to start with. I'm in the right space. Yeah.
Thank you. What's right about where you are today?
I'm really aware of my desire for connection.
Thank you. What's right about where you are today?
I'm experiencing some sadness in my heart region. And it reminds me that I love some people that I'm allowed to be with.
Thank you. What's right about where you are today?
I am welcoming my own presence and able to be alone, which was far more terrifying at another time in my life.
Thank you. What's right about where you are today?
I'm accepting my own reality while aware that I also have the burden of other people's reality that feels kind of ominous.
Thank you. Claire, what's right about where you are today?
It is well, and I mean that in the Jewish kind of translation, shalom. In spite of lots of things that are not okay. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think we'll pause there. That's all right. Thank you very much. So what I'd like to have us do now is break up into pairs. And so Teresa looks like we have 16 people. Teresa will put us into 8 rooms. And we'll do 5 minutes of one person and 5 minutes of the other, practicing with this repeating question. But before we do that, does anyone have any questions or concerns about the exercise? Teresa, yeah.
We just lost someone, so there'll be one group. I think we'll have to go down to 7 rooms.
Okay. Sure.
So we'll have one group that you may have a group that ends up with 3 people in it.
Okay. And so if you're in that group, then you'd want to do just 3 minutes apiece, and one of you would be an observer.
Hey, Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
Randy and I are here together, so we could do one here.
Aha.
Okay.
I don't know how I make that happen, though. That's the hard part.
Oh, can you just leave me not grouped?
I can't. I don't really have control of. We're experimenting with this. So
Okay.
unless I group people manually, which I'm not sure how to do, it's going to automatically just put you with someone.
Okay.
So,
Or Sue, you guys could just leave for 5 minutes and then
Okay.
get back in 5 minutes too, if that feels
Yeah, we can do that.
that.
Okay, we'll do that.
okay.
All right.
Come back though.
Yeah.
Okay,
please
are
come
we
back.
asking that question?
Yes. What's right about where you are today?
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
I hadn't thought about
Okay.
that.
So we'll do 7 rooms and off we go. When you're ready, Teresa.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
We'll see how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Open all rooms. Out, Bill.
Okay.
So you did good. So when we switch you back, it automatically brings you back into, and you guys made it back too, Sue. So good.
Yeah. Hooray.
So it brings so that was a new tool. So appreciate Jan kind of showing. It was awesome. That was a great.
It's really handy, especially if you use Zoom for any kind of coaching calls or groups.
You have to go into your Zoom and turn it on to your account. So it gave you a 60-second warning, and then it brings you back into the room, or you could have chosen to come back in. So thank you, Jan. We'll let you continue on. I think we've got everyone magically came back. So
Yay! Glad we didn't lose anyone.
Jan, I think that we probably should have set the timer for 10 minutes, not 5, right? So that both people had 5 minutes.
Mm.
So what we did is we didn't have a full.
oops.
Yeah.
Sorry, Claire. I muted you by accident.
Oh, no problem. We really didn't have 10 minutes. We had 5. So each person didn't have 5 minutes in that inquiry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably my fault as the timer, so I apologize.
No worries. No worries. Just wanted to make Jan aware of that not everyone has the experience.
Yeah. Got it. So we'll debrief this one, then we'll do one more, and I'll be extra clear on the timing for that one. So I'm just curious what this was like for people. What came up for you?
You can unmute yourself before. I'll let you guys kind of unmute yourselves and respond.
Well, I just want to say, but in it, it's a good practice for just listening and being quiet.
Would you repeat that, Diana? I missed the first part of what you said.
Well, normally I'm I would butt in, or I would, want to show understanding and, use gestures and whatnot, and like that, shake my head and whatnot. And so to just be neutral is a good discipline.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I found that really powerful as well. And something that has been shared in Diamond Approach teaching, which I also really appreciate, is that when you're the questioner or the observer, you keep 80% of your energy with you and 20% with the other person, which, if you're a trained therapist, it sometimes seems like it's supposed to be more like 100% there, 0 here, or those of us that have 2 energy in us as well. So yeah, really helpful discipline. Other thoughts that came up for people?
I will say for me, it was very helpful for me to name some of the things that I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an intense time. A lot happening inside.
It's nice to name things and know that there's not going to be any advice or quick fix or critiquing, but just to name things and hear yourself name them. It's really helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
Jan-
we'll be doing a bit more of that. Yes, sorry, someone else was.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to say, I appreciated the practice so much because of the handles that it provides. It was so safe. And so to be able to come in and to meet with someone that you've never had a connection with, but be able to be very intimate and know that it's held, it's just it goes to a whole new level. And so I appreciated your guardrails, but also just the practice.
Thanks, Erica. So, and Leanne has one more comment, and then we'll go to our next exercise. Yeah, go ahead, Leanne.
I just found it interesting how, with the question continuing to repeat the layers of depth that were found, but the deeper I went, I found it fascinating that I wanted to say what was wrong with what was going on. And so it's just an interesting reframing, right? To think about what's right, and then to see where that took you. And it's, yeah, that was just a very interesting observation I had.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a trick that they play on you all the time in Diamond Approach. Like, what's right about anger? What's right about grief? So thanks for your share. So we have a hard stop at 50 after the hour. Is that right? Okay. So what we'll do then is another tool of inquiry. So instead of a repeating question, this is called a monologue, which is just like it sounds. One person speaking without any questioning or verbal or nonverbal feedback or response from the other person. The other person just holds the space. And the prompt that we'll use for this is, tell me what you're proud of. So again, not as a demo, but just an example. If I were meeting with Teresa would say, okay, Jen, you go first. We'll start the timer and we'll do, let's do 3 minutes. Since we have 8 minutes left in the call. Jan, you have 3 minutes. Tell me what you're proud of. And then off I go. And then we'll prompt you to switch after the first 3 minutes. Is that clear to everyone? Okay. Teresa, will you break us out again?
Jan, would you like us to recreate rooms or the same rooms?
Same, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever's easiest for you.
Okay, here we go. We'll see what happens here.
Okay.
Hi, I can see you now, but I can't hear you. Are you able to?
People are coming back with smiles on their faces. That's a good thing.
That's always a good sign, right?
Always good.
Yep.
Now, Bill and I ended up together again. Was that by
Yeah,
intention?
I just hit, so in the tool, you can either say recreate rooms or
Oh, okay.
reopen rooms.
Ah.
So I just reopened them because I wasn't sure if it would recreate them right. So
Nice. Yeah.
this is the first time I've ever used this. So
I'm gonna have
Janice,
to learn that, especially because we're doing a lot of things. I do groups.
Yeah.
virtually, this is going to be huge for virtual groups.
So you'll just want to Google Zoom breakout rooms setup, and it's real quick in your settings.
I
So
do
know
believe
we're
you
at
have to have
the-
a pro account, but
Okay.
I think
So-
the church has a pro account, so
We do, yeah, Kathleen.
okay.
So I know we're at the end of our time. Claire, I was hoping to maybe get 1 or 2 responses from the exercise and then share a bit about the IEA, and then off we go. Is that good?
Absolutely. If people have to leave, you can watch this later on YouTube, no problem. And we want to get, that debrief and some final announcements in.
Thanks, Claire. So yeah, I would love to hear 1 or 2 reactions to the exercise. Or if you just want to share something that you realize that you're proud of.
Well, I had to laugh for myself because as a 2 on the Enneagram, I found that even the question was I didn't know if it was about confessional because pride is our thing. So I was like, I could just confess for like the whole 3 minutes. But I felt like I was understanding that it's what is good, what is well in you, and what do you want to offer. That's what I felt like the tone of the question was. But I had to reframe it. So that's just interesting to stop within myself. That was like, what am I proud of? I couldn't go there without reframing the question. So that could reflect my own inner work, or could also just be part of a reflection of the inner work I have done around my own pride. So
yeah,
that was just interesting.
Yeah, and not uncommon. Anyone else feel the need to reword the question a little bit? All right, one more. Let's take one more reaction, maybe.
I'll go. It felt good to feel emotion rise up in me that probably I've been pushing down just a little bit. So that was good, just to have an emotional response even to that, and have the space to release that just a little bit. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa. Well, thank you for playing today. Yeah, Claire, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, can we just all, to Jan, say thank you for giving us that opportunity to practice in that way, and maybe we'll practice it some more, in the coming weeks, and we'll always want to invite you back, Jan. So as you continue the journey, and so tell us what's happening as you can with the International Enneagram Association.
Yeah, so some changes, as might not surprise you. We had a big event coming up here in a couple weeks that was, well, I shouldn't say we had, because we still have it, but now it's virtual. So it's a panel on the instincts with 4 teachers: B. Chestnut, Russ Hudson, Peter O'Hanrahan, and who am I missing? Mario Sikora. Thank you.
Yeah, Mario.
So 4 teachers that have very diverse views on the instincts, which can confuse all of us at times. So we're getting them all together to talk about and outline what they see, and talk about together those differences. So that's going to be April 4th. Registration is available online at internationalenneagram.org. The only other big announcement to be aware of is the regional conference in South America in Colombia, if any of you were aware of or planning to go, is being rescheduled because of the coronavirus. But we do have the regional conference in Chicago that Claire's already mentioned, which is on for July. And then there's also the European Regional Conference in Stockholm in September that is going forward as well. So those are our big events right now. We also have Gabor Mate in Vancouver, first weekend in October. So those are kind of the IEA events happening, but really we're discussing a lot about how we can offer even more virtually to our members and guests. And I really think that's gonna be one of the gifts that comes out of this whole experience for us globally is taking better use of the tools that we have available already to connect virtually than we even already do. So yeah, I think that's kind of an overview of where we're at. Thanks so much, everybody, for having me here. Thanks for being open and willing and bringing your presence to these questions, sometimes with strangers or people you don't know well. Yeah, it's been a joy being here.
Yeah, and Jan, let me just say thank you for not recommending that we assign the breakout rooms, because one of the things I said with Amy, she and I have never had an up-close conversation before, just the two of us. And I said, I really love doing it with someone I didn't know. And there was real grace in that for me. So, it's good. And I think Scott the 9, did you disappear? You left us? You didn't want to play that? You didn't want to do that?
I was not intentionally, well, I was intentionally, I had a phone call I had to take. So,
Okay, sure.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, I'll explain to you. I don't want to make public anybody else's business, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm
But
so
of course,
glad.
I am a 9, so anytime I can avoid something, I try to do that.
Well, we are so grateful, as always, to be with you, and invite your friends next month. I think next month is Jerry Wagner. I don't have my list in front of me, but I'm pretty sure. And he had a really interesting article in the IEA 9 points this last month. And so, if you know anything about Jerry, he's always learning, and we want to spend time with him. And so thanks, everyone. And God be with you. Namaste. Salute. Cheers. And bon voyage.
Probably not as much bon voyage for most of us. Bye-bye.
No bon voyage.
Thank you, Jan.